Brianna is a 30-year-old black woman who has successfully taken the social media world by storm. She had recently just won the Content Creator of the Year award as a reward for her consistency. She has not only excelled in that, she does greatly in acting, which she ventured into a year ago. For Brianna, acting and showcasing her creativity had been one of her major loves as a kid. Growing up to be successful at it is a dream come true for her. If there was one thing Brianna loved, it was shopping. It was one privilege she never got to enjoy as a child. As a child, Brianna grew up in a foster home. She had been lucky to find herself in a good one until she was old enough to be independent. As a young teen, she had little cash to spare for her love of fashion while she worked jobs. Brianna had saved up a little of her income to get thrifts at stores and styled them as her way of exploring what she loved. One day, she decided to make a video of how she put the thrifted clothes together, and it went viral. From there, her subsequent posts had more reach, and just like that, she became a star. Brianna had made a lot of money as she grew her platforms, and now she was a CEO of a marketing company that helps other content creators get the help they need. Brianna is currently at her company. She had earlier had a class tutoring upcoming content creators on how to find their niches online. With the help of her team, Brianna has been able to handle her busy schedule. Her best friend Jamal was the marketing specialist, and her personal assistant held it down for Brianna in every situation. She wouldn't trade them for anything. Seated, done with work, Rachel had walked into Brianna's office with excitement. For Brianna, she was exhausted after a very long day at work, and all she wanted to do was rest. "What are you wearing for the movie premiere?" Rachel had asked Brianna, which had got Brianna mood up in the air with her teeth exposing her happiness. Brianna had secured the role of a supporting actress in the movie 6 months ago. It had taken lots of preparation to get the role at the audition. A challenging one at that, since the top producer in the country was finally returning from a 3-year break. Everyone wanted the role, but she had gotten it. It had made her tear up for a while seeing how far she had come, but that encouraged her to give in her all during the shooting, and she had done justice to her role, according to the movie crew. Brianna hoped she did justice to the movie, and people loved it. She would know during the premiere. She needed everything ready for the movie premiere. She was the queen of fashion in her world, and showed her level of creativity to everyone that cared. Brianna knew there was only one way to do that. "I have to go shopping. I need to get that custom dress," Brianna had excitedly said, standing up from her seat. "You didn't even answer my question. I'm not surprised," Rachel had responded to Brianna's statement. Rachel understood Brianna's love for fashion. Shopping made her excited. She wasn't going to stop the joy if it meant she would be looking stunning at the movie premiere. Brianna had won big with movie casting. As far as Rachel knew, everyone wanted to see Brianna shine in her first movie as a lead actress. She deserved to explore her guilty pleasure of shopping. "I'm sorry. You know how I get when I'm going shopping," Brianna had mentioned to her friend and personal assistant, who had not been shocked by her response. "You are going now?" Rachel had asked Brianna, unsure if it was good timing seeing Brianna had a pair of joggers and a large shirt on. "Yes, I know what you were thinking. Don't worry, nobody would spot me dressed this way. You can see." Brianna had picked up the cap on her desk, waving to Rachel as she made her way out. Brianna was going to La Belle's high-end boutique. Her friend Julie had called her yesterday, excited about a high-end boutique she had found while she was out. Julie had mentioned they had many rare and great pieces, and if she wanted a custom dress, she would get it. Brianna wanted to see for herself what they had to offer. Taking her phone, Brianna had called her best friend Jamal, who had skipped work today due to a meeting he had to attend on behalf of the company. "Hey, would you like to go shopping with me?" Brianna had asked Jamal immediately, and he picked. "Brianna, you didn't even ask me about the meeting," Jamal had accused Brianna. "I'm not calling Jamal the marketing producer. I'm here asking my best friend if he wants to go shopping with me," Brianna had asked with a sly smile on her face, as expected, for a response. "I just finished the meeting. It went well, and I'm too tired to go shopping with you today. You take your time," Jamal had said to Brianna, who had rolled her eyes at him, fully aware he could see her do that on FaceTime. All right then, bye betrayer. Brianna had ended the call as she made her way to the boutique. She understood Jamal must have been exhausted and was skipping. The last time they had gone shopping, she had spent 6 hours. Her map had directed her to where the boutique was, and in 40 minutes she was there. Julie had been right about the aesthetics of the boutique. She had been amazed by how it looked organized, with different artworks and modern touch with its wall designs. Expectant, Brianna entered the store after being scanned by the security to ensure safety, which she loved. It reassured her. All she saw first were the dresses. They looked great. She was so excited to check them out. Making her way to see the clothes, the first sales attendant, whom Brianna had met in the store, had on a very stiff face with no smile. Brianna had assumed she must have been in a bad mood, and she had stopped herself for guidance. Brianna had approached another sales attendant who had a smile on. "Hello, I'm here to shop. I'd like to see your best pieces," Brianna had mentioned to the lady, whose face had now displayed a different one than Brianna had seen while she approached. "What pieces exactly would you like to check out?" she had asked Brianna, looking away from her. "I would like to see the new dresses you have, most especially the gowns. I'm looking for a worthy one." Brianna had smiled upon her request. The sales attendant had ignored her friendly response and had asked her to follow her to see the dresses they had. Brianna had scanned through the 3 dresses she had been shown. She knew they weren't the best for her. She had requested that the sales attendant show her another set, knowing the boutique had many options for the look. "Ma'am, these dresses are great. Everyone who has a good taste in fashion selected any of these dresses when they came," she had said to Brianna, who couldn't hide her shock at the backhanded comment. "The dresses are nice, but they are not what I would go for. I need one that fits me perfectly, and these colors do not do me justice." Brianna had tried explaining, hoping that would help the attendant see her point, but instead she ignored her words and asked her to wait. Brianna had waited, expecting a new set of dresses to be brought out. With the excitement of the shopping weighing down, another attendant approached her. "May I know what exactly you want, ma'am?" the new attendant had asked with no greetings and a confrontational tone. "I'm looking for a dress that doesn't make too much of a statement but allows accessories to shine. More of a yellow, blue, or white color range. I'd like to see other collections to help select too." Brianna had responded to the attendant. "Ma'am, the dresses you have described. We do have them, but I can get you one I think would fit your price range. I doubt you can afford the ones we have." The sales attendant had told Brianna, with no sign of gimmicks on her face, staring down at her. Brianna had not totally processed what she had just heard. It was a high-end store. She didn't understand why she would walk in here with lower expectations. As a customer, she did deserve to see the collections. "I'll still like to see the collections," Brianna had requested, patting her own hands out of frustration. Her shopping enthusiasm was down, and all she wanted to do now was get her dress and try shopping next time. "All right, ma'am, you can wait at the reception for security purposes. I'll bring the dresses for you to see." The sales attendant had mentioned it to Brianna as she went to get it. Brianna had waited for 30 minutes, but the sales attendant hadn't returned. That was a long wait time. The other sales attendants had paid her no attention. Rather, some had continued to whisper, while others had welcomed the new customers with smiles and had shown them around happily. Brianna had gotten uncomfortable just waiting. She had decided to take a look at the other dresses that were hanging. She stylishly followed one of the sales attendants who was helping out a new customer. The customer had requested to see the other collections they had, and Brianna had waited to hear the response. "We do have new collections. I'll be back in 5 minutes with them. If you can't wait, we have a waiting room down there where you can sit," Brianna overheard the sales attendant say to the customer. Brianna hadn't been treated like this. None of the sales attendants had told her to wait in the waiting room, even though they had seen her struggle to stand while she waited. Brianna had continued to look around. She had not seen any dress that caught her eye. The dresses were nice, but they hadn't met up with what she wanted. Tired, Brianna used the opportunity to make her way to the waiting room to check it out. Brianna was getting frustrated, peeping to see that the sales attendant had not arrived. Brianna, having sat for some minutes, had left the waiting room to ask about the sales attendant who had gone to bring the new collection. Walking to the desk, she met the customer who she had been with before proceeding to pay for a dress she had not seen on display. Brianna's frustration had grown into anger as she saw this. She walked up to the attendant to ask if any of the sales attendants were back from getting the new collection. The response she had gotten had surprised her. "Ma'am, I doubt any one of us went to get the new collection. The only staff that went is back," the attendant had responded. Just in time, she had spotted the sales attendant who had asked that she wait, this time with nothing in her hands, nor a trolley. "Excuse me, you asked me to wait for you. It's an hour plus, and you are here, empty-handed." Brianna had mentioned with frustration as soon as she saw the sales attendant whose name Dana had been written on her shirt. "I went for lunch. I had no idea you were interested. I had mentioned how expensive they were, and I didn't think you could afford them. I thought you would have left," Dana had said, which had made Brianna angry. "You thought what?" Brianna had asked, trying to withhold her frustration. "I really apologize for the delay, ma'am. Can I help you get a dress within your price range as compensation?" One of the sales attendants had asked, and Brianna could tell it was insincere since she had stopped herself from laughing after saying that. Brianna had tried her best to relax and stay mute. She knew she had nothing to prove to them. Others had gotten great treatment besides her. She knew just what it was about, discrimination, and she wouldn't subscribe to causing a scene to protect the movie premiere. Just then, Brianna's phone rang. It was Rachel who had called. She sounded excited. Brianna's mood had been otherwise, so she had requested Rachel let the news out. "I have great news. Guess what?" Rachel had exclaimed. "The designer from La Belle wants to create a custom gown for you for the movie premiere." Rachel had mentioned it to Brianna. Brianna had shown no excitement upon hearing the news from Rachel. Rachel had spotted that her reaction had been off from her muteness. "You need to let it out now. What is going on?" "I thought you went shopping. You should be excited." Brianna had taken a look at the sales attendants who had stared back at her, a look that said she should excuse herself. "Rachel, kindly tell La Belle I wouldn't need any of their designers to make me a custom dress." Brianna had responded tired. Rachel had attempted to know why, but Brianna had asked that the explanation would come once she got home. She had noticed the look on the sales attendants' faces had changed, unsure of what they had heard. She didn't care. In an attempt to make her way out, her phone rang. It was Rachel. "The designer would meet you at the boutique right now." "You went there, right?" "Yes, I am still there. If the designer isn't here in 15 minutes, I'll leave. I'm too stressed out. We can go shopping for my dresses tomorrow as an alternative," Brianna had told Rachel. Brianna had tried to understand why this had happened. They had not recognized her, which she had loved. She hoped to get as much privacy as she wanted, but the treatment she had gotten had been worse. 2 new customers had walked, immediately recognizing Brianna. Their faces had lit up, and they had rushed to take pictures. "Do you shop here?" One of them had asked excitedly, but Brianna had replied with a smile. As they left, the attention of the sales attendants had changed, seeming to realize their mistakes. One of them had passed the phone to the other, while Brianna had ignored the gasps that had happened afterwards. They were aware. Knowing that she had been spotted, Brianna knew that if she didn't leave, more people would come to the store once the picture hit the internet. Brianna was not in a good mood. She knew it would reflect soon enough if more people trailed in because she was there. She decided to leave the store dialing the Rachel's number. "Tell the designer to reschedule tomorrow. I have been spotted. I don't think I want the attention now," Brianna said to her as she made her way to the car and drove home. At home, Brianna had laid on her sofa, recapping how the visit to the La Belle had gone from happy to sour. She didn't expect the level of discrimination from a high-end brand. She wondered how this must have happened to some customers and how they must have been blindsided by the actions of the sales attendants who had shown Brianna as much attitude as they could afford. They had judged her by her look. They assumed she couldn't afford what she wanted without giving her a chance to make the decision. Brianna had noticed it was just her. she couldn't help but feel the level of insecurity she had felt as a teenager when she had just made a little above her previous monthly income and had saved up to buy a new dress for herself. Brianna had walked into the store in some old clothes, excited to get herself something new. Instead, she had walked out of the store in a sad mood. The attendant had told her there were no dresses available for her. She had looked around to see the dresses that had been displayed and pointed to one, but they claimed it was unavailable. Brianna had witnessed that, just like today, another person walked in and got a dress. She was too young to understand what had happened. A young woman had come, scolding the attendant for ignoring her and even threatening to fire her. That did bring more attention to the situation. She had been clearly segregated because of how she looked. Distracting herself, Brianna had picked up her phone and dialed Jamal's number. He had picked it up instantly. "Jamal, I had a terrible day today," Brianna had informed her best friend with a low tone as she struggled to keep her tears in. "What happened?" "I thought you went shopping," Jamal had asked curiously. "Yes, I did. But I experienced something from my past today. Jamal, the sales attendants refused to sell the dresses to me," Brianna had told Jamal. "They said I didn't look like I could afford it. They didn't know me, but they had treated me like I wasn't worth their time. Other people came in, and they attended to them fairly. You know why?" Brianna said. "I do, Black. I thought this had stopped these days. We will be going back there together tomorrow," Jamal had said knowingly. "Jamal, no. I'll talk to them instead. A designer from the boutique called me to make me a custom dress. I'll be going back there tomorrow," Brianna informed her best friend. She knew Jamal would have reported the boutique, and Brianna knew if she didn't stop Jamal, he would use the media as the best place to lay his claims. Jamal hated discrimination. They had met after one of her shoots for a brand. Jamal had been there as the marketing manager to see how the concept was going. He became her friend after one of the crew members had loudly asked her why she had been selected instead of someone else who was white. It had been clear enough to Jamal once he heard the racist comment. He had asked the crew member to leave, and they had started talking since then. "If you need me to follow you there tomorrow, you can just let me know. Also, don't sleep off yet. You should get a package soon," Jamal said, ending the call, followed up with a text with a hugging emoji attached to it. Brianna had waited to see what her best friend had sent when a call from Rachel came in. Rachel had mentioned how she planned to cancel the offer from the designer if Brianna hadn't explained what had happened to her at the boutique. Brianna had explained it to her in detail, which had gotten her sympathetic words of comfort from Rachel. Rachel wanted to cancel afterwards, but Brianna had refused. Brianna had also thought about canceling the meeting with the designer and ignoring the whole situation, but she knew walking away from the whole situation wasn't the best way to go. If she doesn't speak up, what happened to her is bound to happen to another person who might not have the influence or confidence to fight for their rights. "Rachel, don't cancel the meeting," Brianna had told the assistant. "Let the designer call me and discuss the details for tomorrow." Rachel asked, surprised if Brianna was sure after what had happened to her. She had told her it wasn't a good idea. But Brianna was determined. She had convinced Rachel she knew what she was doing, even though she was unsure of its outcome. Only one solution came to mind. Brianna had to speak to the sales attendants who discriminated against her. Brianna wanted to make them understand the impact of their actions. She wanted to prevent such things from happening again. She explained the solution to Rachel, who had been conflicted about it and wanted a much stricter approach to the issue. Rachel had been given no choice, as Brianna had heard her respond, "Okay, Brianna, I'll let the designer know." Brianna was scared for tomorrow, but she knew she had to do this. This wasn't just about her. She had thought about it more. Brianna realized that she had an opportunity to create change. She could use this experience to educate the staff and make them understand the impact of their actions. A few moments later, Brianna received a package from Jamal, who had sent her a coloring book and food with the tag, "You are the best." Jamal understood her struggle as a Black woman, and now more than ever, she wanted everyone to see the confident Black woman that she was. Brianna's phone had rung immediately after she ate. It was an unknown number. She had picked up the call and realized it was the La Belle designer. Brianna had discussed the details of her custom dress to Mr. Ken as introduced. He had promised she would get to see how the dress would look like tomorrow. They picked a time for the fitting afterwards. Brianna had requested a favor from the designer, who was unaware of what had happened. "Can I have some time tomorrow to speak to the staff?" Brianna asked the designer. "Of course, Brianna. What's this about?" The designer had asked with curiosity in his voice. "I just want to talk to the sales attendants who I met yesterday," Brianna replied, not hinting at what had happened. The designer paused on the call to accept her request. "Okay, Brianna, I'll make sure they're available to speak with you." Brianna hung up the phone, feeling a sense of determination. Unable to sleep, Brianna had spent hours preparing for the moment. She had watched videos, read articles, and sought advice from Jamal via text on how to effectively communicate with people who were perpetuating discrimination and racism. She had learned about active listening, empathy, and assertive communication. She had practiced her words, anticipating the questions and concerns the staff might raise. Despite her preparation, Brianna couldn't shake off the nervousness she felt as she lay in bed the later. She was about to confront the people who had discriminated against her, and she wasn't sure how they would react. Brianna had woken up early the next morning practicing. She knew that this was a crucial moment, not just for her, but for anyone who had faced discrimination and racism. She got dressed, had a quick breakfast, and headed to the boutique, her heart pounding with anticipation. When she arrived at the boutique, Brianna was greeted by the designer and the sales attendants who had discriminated against her. They looked nervous and apologetic, but Brianna didn't want apologies. She wanted change. She had gone straight into the designer room. The first fitting for the dress was over, and Brianna had been satisfied with the look she had wanted. Satisfied with her fitting, she had asked her designer, Mr. Ken, to join her as she proceeded to speak to the staff. Brianna stood confident, with her voice firm but calm, as she addressed the sales attendants who had treated her yesterday. Brianna had been met with an apology once she approached the staff, which were now gathered. She understood, but this meeting was more than just an apology for her. She needed a change to happen. "I know you all are sorry for what happened," she said, "but sorry isn't enough. I want to know what you're going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again." As she spoke, Brianna's mind flashed back to her another of her experiences with discrimination. "I want to tell you a story," Brianna said, looking at the sales attendants. "When I was a teenager, I went to a store with my friends. We were all trying on clothes, but when it was my turn to pay, the cashier assumed I was shoplifting. She called security, and I was humiliated in front of my friends." Brianna had explained. The experience, among many others, affected her confidence as she grew until she gained confidence. She had struggled to believe anyone would care about her, but she had her friends who had made her know she was worth it and her career. Brianna had seen how sales attendants looked at each other, shamefaced. They knew they had made a similar mistake with Brianna. "That's similar to what happened to me here," Brianna continued. "You assumed I couldn't afford this dress because of my skin color. You made me feel like I didn't belong here, which nobody deserves." Brains had continued. The sales attendants nodded, looking determined. "We're going to make sure to treat every customer with respect and dignity, regardless of their race or background," one of them had said. Brianna pressed for more. "But how are you going to do that? What steps are you going to take to make sure this doesn't happen again?" The sales attendants looked at each other, then back at Brianna. "We're going to take diversity training," another said. "We're going to learn about the impact of our actions and how to recognize and overcome our biases." Brianna nodded, but she wasn't satisfied. "That's a good start," she said, "but it's not enough. You need to take action, not just attend a training session. You need to understand that you treat everyone as you would like to be treated. Show love to others. It's not going to cost us." The sales attendants nodded, looking thoughtful. "We'll make sure to hold each other accountable," they said. "If we see someone being discriminatory, we'll speak up." Brianna nodded, satisfied with their response. "I expect to see change," she said. "I expect to see a boutique where everyone is treated with respect and dignity, regardless of their race or background." As Brianna left the boutique with the sales attendants sending her a goodbye after several selfies, she felt a sense of hope. Brianna couldn't help but think about the impact of her actions. She had stood up for herself and for others who had faced discrimination, and she had demanded change. The next day, Brianna received a call from the designer, Ken, who wanted to follow up on what had happened the previous day. Ken had taken concrete steps to address the issues she had raised. Brianna listened as Ken measured the actions the boutique would take, from diversity training for staff to new policies and procedures to prevent discrimination. "I'm glad to hear that," Brianna said. "I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I expect to see real change." Ken had agreed, and the two of them discussed ways that Brianna could be involved in the process. For 1 week, Brianna worked closely with Ken and the sales attendants to implement the changes they had discussed. She attended the diversity training sessions to see how they went. Brianna had asked Rachel to disguise herself to see if the actions fit the training they had received. It had, as Rachel had narrated how she had been treated greatly. Brianna was excited. Her actions had sparked a movement, and she was proud of what she had accomplished. She had used her voice to make a difference, and she knew that she had to continue to fight for equality. The movie premiere was finally here, and Brianna walked the red carpet in her custom-made dress from La Belle. She was stopped by a reporter from a popular entertainment magazine. "Brianna, congratulations on your new movie," the reporter said. "But I have to ask, what's the story behind the controversy at the boutique? You've been very vocal about it on social media." Brianna had shared her story of one of her Instagram lives as a means to let people know about being kind. She had also mentioned that we took a step towards inclusivity. Brianna smiled, grateful for the opportunity to share her story. "Yes, I was discriminated against at a boutique a few weeks ago," she said, "but I didn't let it get me down. I used my voice to speak out against it with the people it happened with, and I'm so grateful for the support I've received." The reporter noticed that Brianna hadn't mentioned the name of the boutique. "You've chosen not to name the boutique," the reporter said. "Can you tell me why?" Brianna nodded. "Yes, I've chosen not to name them because I believe in forgiveness and second chances. I've actually been in touch with the manager and staff, and we've had some amazing conversations. We're actually friends now." The reporter's eyes widened in surprise. "Really? That's amazing. It's clear that you're a woman of great character and compassion." Brianna smiled. "I just believe that we should lift each other up rather than tear each other down, and I'm grateful that we could turn a negative experience into a positive one." Brianna had arrived at the movie theater. She was greeted by her friends Rachel and Jamal, who were beaming with pride. They had been supporting her every step of the way, and they were thrilled to see her shine on the red carpet. "Brianna, you look stunning," Rachel exclaimed, giving her a warm hug. "Thanks, guys," Brianna replied, smiling. "I couldn't have done it without you. Your support means the world to me." Jamal nodded in agreement. "We're honored to be here for you, Brianna. You're an inspiration to us all." As they walked into the theater together, Brianna felt a sense of gratitude and love. She knew that she had true friends who would stand by her no matter what. Once inside, they took their seats and waited for the movie to start. Brianna felt a mix of emotions: excitement, nervousness, and pride. She knew that this movie was going to be a game changer, and she was thrilled to be a part of it. It was just the start of the journey for Brianna, and a realization of how she was about to use her platform and influence for the purpose of reaching her audience hit her. Brianna recollects how her childhood was just like the role she had played in the movie. Brianna's childhood was filled with many pathways of foster homes and temporary families. She never quite felt like she belonged. She always felt like an outsider, as she was segregated. Young Brianna had devoured old movies and built her fairy tale by imaginations with the glamour of the classic Hollywood movie she had watched. Brianna had written down her wishes on a jotter, where she began to dream of a life beyond the foster care system, a life where she could make a difference. Amidst the uncertainty, Brianna had found peace in the creative expression of how she felt. She had taken steps, and now she was a top content creator and an actress. Even after getting the wishes, Brianna had been unaware that she hadn't healed from her childhood scars that had made her scared. What if she failed? What if she wasn't taken seriously? What if she wasn't all that anymore? The fear of this had made Brianna give everything she had to remain a top content creator. The boutique incident had triggered that part again, but she had realized something important at the movie premiere. She didn't have to be consumed by her fears. She had addressed the situation at the boutique, felt a form of relief, and was guided towards change for the sales attendants. She could do it for many other people. Brianna knew she had to talk to someone about this. Her best friend Jamal was the best option. He understood her fears, and what she could potentially want. He had gone through the same thing alongside her as an immigrant. Brianna knew Jamal had faced so much discrimination and adversity as an immigrant, and yet he had remained kind, humble, and passionate about his work. Jamal had told Brianna about the struggles he had faced when he first arrived in the United States. He had been denied jobs because of his accent, and he had been profiled by law enforcement because of his skin color. He had felt like an outsider, like he didn't belong. But despite all of this, Jamal had never given up. He had worked hard to build a new life for himself, and he had found success as a marketing director. He was proud of what he had accomplished, and he was determined to use his platform to help others. Brianna needed Jamal to share his story. If he agreed, she had big respect for him. Brianna knew she definitely needed Jamal on board with the theme idea she had. The movie premiere had ended, and Brianna had exchanged greetings with her co-stars. Jamal's friend Rachel had sent her a text to meet at her house since she had been too crowded at the end of the premiere. At home, the three of them had gathered to celebrate her new achievement. Rachel had left due to some personal emergency. Brianna knew it was the right time to share with Jamal. Brianna turned to Jamal with a determined look on her face. "I've been thinking a lot about my social media presence and how I can use it to make a positive impact," she said. "I want to start speaking out about discrimination and sharing my own experiences." Jamal's expression turned supportive. "That's amazing, Brianna. I'm so proud of you for wanting to use your platform for good." Brianna's eyes locked onto Jamal's. "You know, it's actually something that happened to you that made me realize I needed to do this. Remember your story as an immigrant and how much more you had to face." His head clouded over, recalling the incident. "How could I forget? Life as an immigrant." Brianna's voice was filled with indignation. "And that's not okay. I want to help make sure that no one else has to go through what you went through. I want to use my platform to speak out against discrimination and promote acceptance and inclusivity." Jamal's expression softened, touched by Brianna's willingness to stand up for him. "I'm honored that you would want to share my story, Brianna. But are you sure you're ready for the backlash that might come with speaking out about these issues?" Brianna's jaw set in determination. She was scared, but she knew it was necessary. "I know that with you by my side, we can make a real difference. Plus, I think our different perspectives will make our message even stronger." Jamal nodded, his eyes shining with agreement. "I'm in, Brianna. Let's do this together. What's the first step?" They had sat together, brainstorming ideas for their social media campaign, and Brianna and Jamal's excitement grew. They knew they were taking a risk by speaking out about discrimination, but they also knew it was a risk worth taking. Their conversation flowed easily, with ideas building upon ideas. They decided to start with a video sharing their personal experiences, including the boutique incident. Jamal would share his story, and Brianna would share her own experiences with discrimination. Next, they would create a series of posts highlighting different forms of discrimination, using statistics and personal stories to drive the point home. They would also invite others to share their own experiences, creating a safe space for people to speak out. As they worked, Brianna and Jamal's passion and dedication grew. They knew they were creating something special, something that could make a real difference. Finally, after hours of brainstorming, they had a solid plan in place. They high-fived each other, grinning from ear to ear. "This is going to be amazing," Brianna said, her eyes shining with excitement. "I know, right?" Jamal replied, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "We're going to change the world, one post at a time." Together, they set to work, ready to take on the challenge ahead. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to make a difference. They were starting the Stand Together campaign using their platforms. Brianna and Jamal were able to achieve a lot with the campaign. They had faced challenges and backlash, but their determination and friendship had carried them through. As the Stand Together campaign came to a close, Brianna and Jamal reflected on the incredible journey they had shared. Together, they had created something truly special, a movement that had inspired thousands to stand up against discrimination and promote inclusivity. Brianna's social media following had grown exponentially, but more importantly, she had found a new sense of purpose and passion to fight against discrimination and be a confident Black woman who could initiate change. Jamal's marketing expertise had been instrumental in the campaign's success, and he had found a new outlet for his creativity and energy. As they looked to the future, Brianna and Jamal knew that their work was far from over, but they were ready for whatever came next, knowing they had each other's backs. Brianna and Jamal had decided to continue collaborating, using their combined talents to create content and campaigns that promote positivity and inclusivity. Their message of love, acceptance, and unity resonated with people from all walks of life, reminding them that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. The last day of the campaign, "We are stronger together than we are alone," Brianna said, summing up the campaign's core message. Jamal nodded in agreement. "Our differences are what make us beautiful," he said. "Let's celebrate them rather than try to tear each other down." As they looked to the future, Brianna and Jamal knew that their work was far from over, but they were ready for whatever came next, knowing they had each other's backs and a message that could change the world. They decided to continue collaborating, using their combined talents to create content and campaigns that promote positivity and inclusivity. As Brianna looked back on the #StandTogether campaign, she knew that she had found her true purpose. She had discovered a passion for using her platform to promote positivity and inclusivity. With a newfound sense of confidence and determination, Brianna resolved to continue using her voice to make a difference. She would keep sharing her story and amplifying the stories of others to create a world that was more just and equitable. Brianna also resolved to continue learning and growing, to better understand the complexities of social justice, and to become an even more effective ally. She knew that there would be challenges ahead, but she was ready to face them head-on, armed with courage, compassion, and a commitment to creating a better world. For Jamal, he reflected on the Stand Together 38 campaign. He knew that he had found a true friend in Brianna who had helped him discover what he had been unaware of. He had discovered a new sense of purpose, using his marketing expertise to promote positivity and inclusivity. With a renewed sense of passion and energy, Jamal resolved to continue using his skills to amplify the messages of marginalized communities. He would keep working to create campaigns that inspired and uplifted others, and he would use his privilege to create space for others. Jamal would also continue to share his own story, and others to humanize the experiences of immigrants and people of color, and to challenge stereotypes and biases. He knew that there would be obstacles ahead, but he was ready to face them with determination, creativity, and a commitment to creating a more just and equitable world. As we end the story, Brianna's journey came full circle. From being denied service at a high-end boutique to becoming a leading voice against discrimination, she proved that our true character is not defined by how others see us, but by how we respond to adversity. But Brianna's story is not just about her own humility, resilience, and determination. It's also about the power of great friendship and collaboration. Her partnership with Jamal showed us that when we come together with others who share our values and passions, we can achieve far more than we ever could alone. This encounter teaches us valuable lessons. Firstly, we must not judge others based on appearance. The sales associate's assumptions were proven wrong, highlighting the dangers of superficial judgments. Secondly, we must treat everyone with respect and kindness, regardless of their background or appearance. The boutique staff learned this. The incident shows the persistence of racism and bias. It emphasizes the need for inclusivity and diversity, creating spaces that welcome and value people from all backgrounds. This encounter serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of humility, inclusivity, and respect. We must recognize and challenge our biases, treating everyone with kindness and respect. Doing so, we can create a more inclusive and compassionate society where everyone is valued and respected. The power of one person's voice can bring change, and accountability and growth are essential in breaking down barriers. Let us strive to empower individuals and communities through inclusivity and work towards a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. Remember, a world where we uplift and support each other rather than tearing each other down is one we should strive to create. Together, we can create a brighter future where everyone can live without fear of judgment, marginalization, or exclusion.